of Shots on Target with your host, Brad Betts, where we look and analyze the goal market for all the top matches of the day throughout the world. Today is Tuesday, September 3rd. We're coming off a 7-1 or another cash yesterday in the Canadian Premier League, putting us to 7-1 since we started the show. Wonderful form. And today what we're going to do is we're going to highlight Germany's Bundesliga, take a historical look at where we are thus far in the season, and then we're going to finish off with a look over in the Welsh Premier League. Without further ado, Brad Morris, good to see you. Let's dive in. Well, the Bundesliga in 2022-2023, 2 seasons ago, hit both teams to score an over 2.5 goals at 59 and 60%. Last season, ticked up a little bit. We had BTTS at 62%, and we had the over 2.5 at 62%. So the same number there. So we did see an increased amount of scoring from 2 seasons ago to last season. And then this season in the Bundesliga. Thus far, we've played 2 weeks, which is 9 games per week, given that Germany is an 18-man league. So what we're seeing thus far through 2 weeks is 50% both teams to score and 50% over 2.5. We are seeing that over 1.5 come in at 83%, which is a solid figure compared to last season's 85%, the way that they finished. And the over 1.5 team total is coming in at 78%. That's solid. Home team scoring at 77% and the away team at 72%. Those are correlating figures with the last year's stats. They look very similar to what the Premier League looked like. So thus far in the season, we are seeing a very similar amount of teams score both home and away. But what we're not seeing is that total amount of goals tick up to get us into some of those numbers. Through week 1, the Bundesliga had 30 goals, and it saw BTTS at 6-3 and the over 2.5 at 5-4. Solid production coming straight out of the gate. But in week 2 of the Bundesliga, it went down 30 goals to 26 goals. So 4 less, which isn't totally absurd of a difference in scoring. But the numbers went from 6-3 to 3-6 on the BTTS, went from 5-4 to 4-5 on the over 2.5. So some of those numbers, while they are close enough in goals, those 4 goals can make and break your entire weekend from a holistic perspective. So you want to be very frank on which teams that you're backing and at what moments you're backing. So what we're seeing here is a couple figures that really stand out to me. There's all teams that hit both teams to score also hit the over 2.5 goals except for 1 match. You had 8 of the 9 matches that saw over 2.5 goals from a team total. So one team hitting 3 goals also hit that over 3.5 goals. So very correlating figures there. 5 of 18 hit the over 4.5. So that's a pretty solid number. And all 4.5 goals, so if it did hit that over 4.5, it came by both teams. We saw both teams score twice in the matches that hit over 4.5. And every match that hit over 2.5 also hit over 3.5. Very interesting. And then 2 teams thus far this season have not been able to find the net, and that's Bochum and St. Pauli. So when you get back in there and you look at those teams individually, know that those teams are struggling thus far to get some results. So now that we've looked at Germany's Bundesliga, we're going to gain a little bit more information in the next couple weeks once the international break has concluded to kind of give us a gauge on how the Bundesliga is performing. Typically, a much higher scoring league, not much, but it was a higher scoring league up until last season, until the Premier League just slightly nudged ahead. Thus far this season, we've seen both leagues kind of come down a little bit. We'll pay attention, see if that is just early season blues. But again, we want to be mindful, get all those correlating figures in. That way we can have everything in our back pocket. So when we make our next bet on Hoffenheim or Frankfurt, like we did this past weekend, we know kind of what to expect. And now, there's not a lot of plays today, to be quite honest. There's not a lot of fixtures, not a lot of value in today's slate. Everything's been picked and chosen from. Any sharps out there have really nuked any of if there was even a good line, but there's just not a lot out there. So I would honestly take your bets down. And if you're going to play anything, take a look at the match that I am about to highlight for us in Wales. Right now, we have the New Saints, who are one of the most heavily invested teams, the most heavily invested team in Wales, but really in a lot of these leagues that are very similar to them, they have a big financial backing and they play a really open, gung-ho play style, mostly because there's not a lot of competition in their league. They find it pretty easy when they come out there passing the ball around because they got better players, better system. They know how to take advantage of a lot of these lower level teams, especially at home. So TNS, the New Saints, in the Wales Premier League, they've come in scoring 40 goals in their last 9 league matches. That is above 3.5 goals per match. They've hit over 3.5 on their team total in 4 of their last 5 league matches coming into this, and 6 of the last 8 matches that they faced at home. You regularly see them put up goals, not just both home and away, but specifically at home too. They love to run up the goals. TNS, they are also playing a team called this is tough. Aberystwyth. 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 They are really struggling in the goal market historically. But let's take a look at what they're doing this far this season. In those 2 matches, they've only played 4 games, and the New Saints is only on their 2nd match this season. Aberystwyth is up to their 5th game. This is going to be their 5th game. Why is there a difference in number of games? It's because the New Saints were competing in Europe. The last number of weeks, they've been facing tough, stiff competition, getting their legs ready in a similar fashion to what their opponents are doing with their league play, but they've got a lot of tougher opponents. And with TNS and the regularity that they hit the goal market, which you can see here, in the head-to-head market against Aberystwyth, these are the last 7 matches. They beat them 6-0, 11-0, 3-0, 4-1, 2-0, 6-0, and 4-0, all at home. Insane numbers, right? So at Aberystwyth, not only have they conceded 4+ goals in both away matches this season, they've also conceded 4+ goals in 5 of the 7 away matches that they faced TNS. So when they're away from home, they're struggling, both current form and historical form. But the biggest problem with this line is when I took it and when we placed this bet, sent it out earlier in the day, it was at -155 for TNS to hit that over 3.5 team total. Since then, it's gotten nuked. The one place that I have a team total on this league is DraftKings. The other spread that I can find is at Bet365. Bet365 is not available in Tennessee, only in Kentucky. I would have to travel up to the border. I'm not going to do that today. I like the team total at over 3.5 at -155 for TNS, but that's up now at -225. That's just not playable. So our best bet of the day, while it is that TNS over 3.5, we can't make it a play of the day here because it's gotten so nuked. There's not a lot to look at. So I wanted to continue to put this in front of us. We're not going to have a play of the day today because of it. But in the live market for this team, yes, it's at -225. But also in the first 10 minutes, if there's not a goal, this line's going to be playable. If Wales doesn't hit that over 1.5 in the first half, this line is going to be playable. So there could be a lot of potential in that live market for those of us who can't get this line in a similar fashion to what we've experienced with previous matchups. Not a lot to choose from today. The only match that I find that there could be a lot of value still is in that New Saints line. So if you can't get the line, if you can find one, go for it. Don't take that over 4.5 game total. At minimum, at that -225, let it drop and look for that over 3.5 team total live. Maybe drop in a small bet for the over 1.5 in the first half if you're feeling like you want to push yourself. But Again, you can also drop in on that over 4 Asian total for a push if that drops as well. So these are a couple looks that we can look to attack together. I have a team total bet at minus 155, a little juicy, but I knew that that juice was worth the squeeze. Didn't think it was going to squeeze us this hard. But again, we're going to look to attack TNS Live. Brad Morris, thanks again so much for showing up. Gator fan, Russell Johnson, I appreciate you guys. You know I want to bet as much as I possibly can every single day of my life, especially on football, footy, the greatest game in the world. But this week is not the time to start throwing out your bets. We might have a look with Once Called Us later in the day, which is a team I believe out of Colombia, but we didn't get there. And we might look for more value potentially tomorrow, but really definitely on Thursday. I have a best bet on Thursday, and I'm going to bring it tomorrow just in case we potentially have a chance to get nuked again over this ugly break. Again, thanks so much for showing up. I know that we didn't have a lot to work with. We got a great historical perspective on Germany. We've done so with the English Premier League last week. We're 7-1 in our last 8 play of the days. We're going to look to attack TNS Live today. But what we don't want to do, again, I reiterate it, is don't force. Play this at half a unit, and let's look to attack this slate when we have way more options. Again, thanks again for showing up to our 7th episode of Shots on Target, where we analyze all the top matches of the day from the goal-scoring perspective. Today is Tuesday, September 3rd, I believe. And again, we'll see you guys tomorrow with our play of the day and another league that we're going to highlight over international break. Thanks again. I'll catch you guys tomorrow.